Hi, I'm Mary Bourne, traditional naturopath. And I love sharing natural remedies with people for better health because they work. Natural remedies have been around for hundreds, even thousands of years, and many times without incident if people use them wisely. My classes, Health to Home and Preppy Herbalist, that I do on Tuesdays have been devoted to herbs that are known for culinary purposes, either drinking as a tea or eating or putting in foods or eating as a food, and how they benefit health. And today's class is a classification of herbs known as pungent or spicy herbs that benefit health. And the reason I do these classes is to show people that your food can be your medicine. And with the concern of supply shortages, lumber, toilet paper, sometimes milk, sometimes bread, have we ever considered the fact that there may be medicinal shortages as well, and that people who depend on prescription drugs might be concerned about that? Now, this is not to say that the herbs that I talk about are to replace your medicine. You obviously should talk to your medical doctor about some options, about doing some natural remedies, and do your own research. I always invite people to do your own research. I often leave links in the description below for further research, and this video will also have some links. This is a fun video for me to do because of many things. And so the first thing we want to talk about is like, what are pungent herbs? So pungent spices are foods that people eat generally every day. Now, I wouldn't say you would make a meal out of it. Um, they're usually there to bump up, or as celebrity chef Emeril Lagasse says, kick it up a notch, due to their exciting action on our taste buds. But they also have many health benefits, and these health benefits are not as well known as the spices are for culinary purposes. So let's talk about some of those health benefits of spices. So most of the pungent herbs will promote healthy circulation, stimulate digestive function, help the body fight acute viral infections. Now, that's one a lot of people don't realize. And at the end of the video, I will give you a recipe for something called fire cider. And it's very popular for people who are using herbs to improve health, to use this to fight off colds and flu. So they help to stimulate perspiration, which cools the body in hot weather. You know, have you ever wondered why hot peppers are so popular in like South America and these different hot climates? To me, it doesn't make sense. But when you understand that they help open up the pores and they allow perspiration, and this is the way our body keeps cool. They also reduce inflammation. They may help with relieving pain and expel mucus and enhance longevity. Now, who doesn't want that? So what makes herbs pungent? Well, combinations of the oils in the herbs themselves, for example, capsicum and ginger and garlic, and these are things that through these oils emit these scents. Now, piperines are alkaloids that produce sharp, burning, or tingling sensations on the tongue, such as black pepper. Sulfides are compounds, including essential oils that contain sulfur. Sulfur is used in detoxification. It's also one of the calming compounds like magnesium. Sulfur is used in detoxification processes and is naturally antibiotic. So it's really a good thing to have in different foods. And some of the examples of sulfide is garlic, onions, mustard. There are others like eggs and cruciferous vegetables, but that's not what this particular class is all about. So the properties of pungent herbs, they move blood and energy upward and outward. So through the nervous system, through the blood, through the skin. So they help dispel stagnation. So like if you've been sleeping for a long time, 7, 8 hours, your body is just, it's pooling. All the liquids are just pooling. And so movement, that's like when you wake up in the morning and you're kind of creaky and it takes you a bit to get going, and pungent herbs actually can kick it into action. So taking a little bit of this fire cider or apple cider vinegar with a pinch of capsicum in it is a good thing to do in the morning to get things flowing quickly. Now, a lot of us will use coffee. Now, coffee's not really a pungent herb by any stretch of the imagination. What happens with coffee is that it kicks the adrenal gland in gear to emit the nervous stimulating hormones that help to wake us up and get us going. So pungent herbs also increase blood circulation and enhance energy production. So doing something like that first thing in the morning with this like fire cider is one way of moving our energy to a better level. So it's a carminative, which means it expels gas and aids in digestion. Now, digestive aids stimulate production of digestive secretions and enhance appetite. So a lot of people say, I don't do breakfast. And that's because it takes a while for their body to get the digestive juices flowing so that their brain says, oh, I'm hungry. But actually, there's controversy about whether you should eat breakfast or whether you should keep the eating time to like a 5-hour limit. So you stretch out your breakfast time and shrink in your dinner time so that you're eating within that period of time. And that's basically intermittent fasting. They used to say breakfast is the king, lunch is the queen, and dinner is the prince. And so basically whatever philosophy that you use, understanding that the digestive secretions kick in that appetite, and it doesn't mean that it makes you hungry all the time, you're trying to lose weight, when in fact, these pungent herbs can actually support weight loss. So it's very balancing. And in traditional medicine, that's our goal, is to create balance. So in traditional Chinese medicine, it tonifies the metal. Now there's, 5 elements, wind, and so metal is one of those elements, and it's basically to do with how you defend yourself. So it increases energy, and it increases the way that you support better health so that your body doesn't get sick. So capsicum and capsaicin. Now, capsicum is the name for a genus peppers known as chili peppers. It includes mild peppers and spicy peppers like jalapeno and habanero, even ghost, and all these high levels of Scoville that measures the heat of the particular pepper. I am not a fan of spicy peppers, and I choose to do mine in a capsule form. If I have to take capsicum, I would prefer to take it in a capsule and bypass the taste buds, because they actually can inflame my taste buds. They will even swell. And I attribute it to, my ancestry. I'm French, and the French people like creamy and smooth dishes, and flavorful, but not spicy. So the company that I have trusted my health to for over 40 years, and my family and my clients, is Nature's Sunshine. And they began on capsicum. Gene Hughes had an ulcer. He was a teacher, and he had developed this ulcer, and his wife Christine saw him taking these spoonfuls of this hot, spicy pepper, and it definitely helped to heal his ulcer. He found it to be very calming, and it soothed the ulcer, and the pain would go away. But taking it was painful. So they decided they would encapsulate it, and became the first encapsulating company. And that was their claim to fame. They're now a global industry, employing thousands and thousands of people, and helping support people who distribute and share the remedies that they provide with the best quality I have seen. So capsicum and capsaicin are the great equalizer. It has been studied. It is approved as a medicine by the FDA. It suppresses what's called the NF-κB activation, which may contribute to its anti-inflammatory, anti-carcinogenic, and immunomodulating properties. So that being said, it is also involved in pain signaling and the endocannabinoid system. Now, I did a whole class on the endocannabinoid system. This system is the balancing system. It works with all of the systems of the body: circulatory, nervous system, all the immune system. And it searches out where there's imbalances and endeavors to balance the energies. And it's a very interesting system that is rather new. We've known about the other systems of the body for many, many, many decades. The endocannabinoid system is only about 2 decades in our knowledge experience. Research has been done on it. And yes, there have been, CBD is part of this, but I just want to let you know that there's other things besides CBD that affects the endocannabinoid system and helps it with its balancing effort. So in pain, the TRPV1 receptor is connected to the endocannabinoids and has this downgrading system where it has receptors for pain, itch, temperature sensation, cancers, genetic disorders, airway inflammation, and the reason it does that is because it works with the brain, the skin, the nerve ends, the bladder, the pancreas, testes, heart. And so it checks all of these systems constantly, wondering where there's imbalances and where it can draw energy from different systems of the body to support balance. So capsaicin binds to the receptors called substance P. And you can remember that as P for pain. It's a neurotransmitter which is involved in pain signaling. At first, it stimulates these receptors, resulting in the burning sensation, and then rapidly blocks them to numb the pain. Capsicum extracts can be applied topically to ease the pain. They're often known as capsaicin. They're found in lotions and creams. You can make them yourself. There are videos on the YouTube that shows how to make a capsaicin extract, and it can be used topically for pain. You have to be careful because remember the Scoville marker can also burn tender skin. So you have to be careful about that. So follow recipes that are known pain relievers. Capsicum powder can also be used internally to ease chronic pain, and that would be if you wanted to use the capsicum in capsule form. And I'll leave a link in the description below so that you can get any of the products that I talk about for a 25% discount. So as a circulatory stimulant, it helps to equalize circulation so that all parts of the body benefit. It can help reduce high blood pressure and it can increase low blood pressure. So that's what makes it so interesting, is that it balances. So it doesn't target high blood pressure, bringing it down so that somewhere during the day you find yourself dizzy because your blood pressure is too low. It actually works to equalize this. And regular use of capsicum helps to prevent heart disease. Remember, the FDA has already put this on their approved list of drugs, and even though it's a food. So it can help decrease the risk of heart attack and stroke. In fact, there are some people that during a heart attack, you open up a capsule, stick it between the lip and the front teeth there in that little well, mix it with the saliva automatically, and it can calm the heart down while you're being rushed to the hospital, because obviously you don't want to play around with something that is that severe. But again, this has been a crazy time, and there were times in 2020 when the hospitals weren't open and people had heart attacks. And wouldn't it have been wonderful for them to know about this wonderful herb that they probably have in their kitchen cupboard and don't even realize that it can be a benefit to help get circulation going? Because remember, a heart attack is just congestive heart failure. And when you have congestion, circulatory stimulant can help with that. So it can be used immediately after or during a heart attack or stroke, while waiting for medical care. So in other words, while you call 911, while you're waiting for them to arrive, you can at least feel like you're doing something for this person. And you want to put it under the tongue or between the teeth and the lip. Circulatory indications: weak peripheral circulation, pooling of blood in the extremities, skin red and dusky blue, but cool to the touch. Stress on the heart from pooling of blood in the center and lack of circulation to the periphery and weak senile heart. So these are people who have been stressed out and exhausted, whether it's through trauma or whether it's through age. It's a good thing for people in their late 70s and on to be taking to support circulation. It also is a benefit for people who have varicose veins. They stand a lot. Their job requires them to be standing and not moving around a lot. So you're standing in basically one position. It is good for that. And people who are troubled with phlebitis. So capsicum is a very valuable herb, and it can be of a great benefit even in acute illness. So it can be taken to help ward off colds and flu and fevers. Excuse me. You want to use with warm liquids at first sign of illness, because remember, if you're chilled, it is very warming. You might be able to add it to some chicken broth and help with the increasing of circulation, maybe perspiration to move the toxins out of the body. So it's good for fever with weak peripheral circulation, congestion with thick white mucus, feeling chilled or tired or sluggish. So anytime you have those symptoms, that is an indication that capsicum might be of benefit. And it can be used with other herbs that support the immune system. So it isn't just held to that. Now, capsicum may be applied topically to stop bleeding. Now, we know that yarrow helps with like internal bleeding and that. But if you have a cut, you can sprinkle a little bit of capsicum on that cut. It actually works like a cauterizing that cut and will help to stop the bleeding. Your body will get rid of the powder. Don't worry about dumping powders into the wound. Just putting the capsicum into the wound and then using like a butterfly bandage or something, and you want to stop the bleeding as quickly as possible. And this would be a quick way of doing it. It can also be taken internally. So it's been known to help women who have excessive bleeding during menses. And you can take it with yarrow or bayberry. So it is really good. Now, here's one that is more my speed, ginger. I love ginger. Now, again, I can't take a lot of it because of the spicy thing, but it's one I tolerate much better than capsicum and has many of the same healing benefits. So it's full of volatile oils known as monoterpenes and sesquiterpenes. The gingerols in ginger inhibit prostaglandins, reduce inflammation and pain. Cardiotonic effects decrease platelet activity and decompose into sugars in storage, which are cardiotonic antipyretic, so another, again, heat reducing, antitussive, enhanced gut motility. So let's talk about those. Nausea and motion sickness. Oh my goodness, this has been such a wonderful gift for me. We love cruises, and during the South American cruise that we took before COVID, the seas were rough. In the middle of the night, we found ourselves levitating off our bed and then crashing back down on it. The closet doors were magnetic and they would open and close, and it's like, it's a good thing I have a lot of faith, because it's like I really wasn't that scared and I wasn't sick, because what I do is I take 2 capsules of ginger every meal prior to the trip and during the trip. So in other words, I take, and that's enough for me. Now, a bigger person might need more, but for me, 2-3 times a day was perfect. And I used, way before I knew about ginger or recognized the value of it, I tried those patches. I tried Dramamine. Nothing seemed to be good. Now, I never did try the wrist things, but ginger came into my life as a capsule and was a beautiful thing. Um, on ships, they often will have, at the entrance of the dining area, they'll have little bits of ginger in a candy form, but that's so spicy on my tongue. I'm not a fan. I just find it so much better for taking the capsule. And there have been studies that show 90% effective in preventing motion sickness. So it is not just a whim of mine. There's lots of research to back this up. Now, some say taking 3 to 8 capsules ingested prior to getting out of bed in the morning and 3 to 5 capsules taken during the day if the slightest sign of nausea were 70% effective in reducing or eliminating morning sickness. Now, I would add caution to this, because ginger is a very moving herb. It's a very stimulating herb. And in the early months of pregnancy, which is when you have morning sickness the most, I would start off with taking just 1 capsule the night before, and then see how the morning went. If the morning was rough, then you would take 1 before bed and 1 as soon as you got up, or just before you got up, had the water sitting next to your on your nightstand, and take a capsule of the ginger, and that may be enough for you. I think 8 is excessive, but actually that's what the testing, the research was done on. I just want to caution, because babies are precious, and you don't want to do anything that may cause the baby to abort. So ginger is also helpful for nausea associated with chemotherapy. Now, there are a lot of people who suffer nausea when they have their chemotherapy. Now, this I would be aggressive about, because ginger is so valuable in many ways that we also know that chemotherapy can inhibit appetite, and ginger will help to kick on the appetite signals and keep that person wanting to eat healthy foods to keep their strength up. It helps with stomach ache, stomach flu, so many things. So ginger enhances the movement of food through the GI tract. So it's a great digestive. It also increases the secretions that help to aid in digestion. It is carminative, relieves gas and bloating. It can be helpful for intestinal inflammation. So and you can do this with a tea if you'd like. There's some wonderful teas out there that if you don't want to make your own, I know Bigelow has a great ginger lemon tea that I've enjoyed. So second only to capsicum as a circulatory stimulant and is more easily tolerated by people. So improves blood flow to the extremities, reduces cardiovascular inflammation. It helps to maintain proper blood pressure, especially helpful for improving blood flow through the abdominal area. Fresh ginger is anti-inflammatory and it can ease chronic pain such as arthritic pain. So like the capsicum that you would make a cream, you could also do the same thing with ginger. It's milder and maybe not as effective as capsicum because of the capsaicin, but it still can do some. And there are some essential oils that have blends with ginger in them. I've already mentioned ginger tea, and that's helpful for promoting perspiration and relieving respiratory congestion. So you have a cold and you're chilled, drinking a cup of lemon ginger tea with a little bit of honey in it can really help. And it's also helpful if you have painful menstruation and because of improving circulation in the gut area. So why does your body need sulfur foods? So your body needs sulfur to build and fix your DNA and protect your cells from damage that can lead to serious diseases such as cancer. So when your DNA becomes hampered by different things, and I don't want to go into all of the ways the DNA can be damaged, taking sulfur in the form of garlic and onions and those type of things can help protect those cells from damage. Sulfur also assists your body to metabolize food and contributes to the health of your skin, tendons, and ligaments. These foods help prevent narrowing of the blood vessels. So sulfur has a part in the expansion and contraction of the blood vessels. Some sulfur-rich foods may cause gas and bloating, such as those in the cruciferous family if digestion is poor. So we do need to make sure we're getting a lot of good enzymes and that our pancreas is functioning well. And sulfur may be absorbed through the skin, which is a really good thing if, and we're going to talk about how that can be done. So garlic and onions. Both of these contain sulfur compounds. Garlic has at least 23, which make up about 1% of the plant. The principal pungent principle in garlic is allicin, which is strong smelling and it's not stable. In water, allicin degrades mostly into sulfides. In oil, it transforms into various sulfides known as ajoin and phenylethiones, and organic sulfur phytochemical. So allicin is formed when garlic is crushed, so it's raw garlic. Cooked garlic doesn't have allicin in it, so those things that allicin provides are not necessarily available when you cook it. So an enzyme called allinase converts alanine to allicin. Allicin is mostly responsible for garlic's potent antibacterial and antifungal actions. The cardiovascular and anti-cancer benefits of garlic are mainly ascribed to the stable transformation products of allicin. So only there is a method of taking the raw garlic and stabilizing it so it can be encapsulated. And Nature Sunshine has that in the high potency garlic formula, which is a wonderful chlorophyll coated formula that helps if you don't want to eat raw garlic. Also, there is a way to ferment raw garlic that doesn't break down the allicin. So it is really helpful. And I have links for making the fermented garlic if you want to do that. It's quite easy to do. It just takes time. Not on your part, but on the garlic's part. So garlic for respiratory infection. Now this is very interesting. If you take a clove of garlic and cut it in half and rub it on the bottom of your feet, you will be expiring. You know, you have inspiration and expiration. You will expire that garlic within seconds. It goes that quickly through your body. So it is a very responsive herb. It passes quickly through the bloodstream, even, like I said, through the skin, and is excreted by the lungs. And that's why you have garlic breath, because when garlic is working, it's getting rid of these toxins through your breath. Fresh garlic is helpful for colds and flu with respiratory congestion, pneumonia, cough with thick, damp mucus, sinus infections, and tuberculosis, all things that are associated with lung health. So garlic for other infections, it aids to prevent secondary infections, prevention of infection in wounds, bacterial infections. When you have something that's antibiotic resistant, like MRSA, garlic is very beneficial. It's helpful for the digestive tract to get rid of the H. pylori, which contributes to ulcers, hiatal hernia, a multitude of problems, ileocecal valve problems, things that if you know that you have these situations, learning about garlic is going to be very beneficial for you. It's also wonderful for ear infections, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Fungal infections like athlete's foot, yeast overgrowth, parasitic infections like intestinal worms. So garlic circulation. Aged or fermented garlic has many circulatory benefits. And like I said, I'll leave a link for the how to make fermented garlic in the description below. It's a great natural blood thinner. It reduces high cholesterol and triglycerides. Allicin inhibits cholesterol synthesis. So if you're one to eat a lot of raw garlic, and you're on a blood thinner, hopefully you're having that monitored, because there can be some response in that. And when you're going in for surgery, a lot of times the doctors will tell you to get off of all of your supplements. Well, they don't tell you that food is a supplement. So they really should be telling you about things like garlic or capsicum that can affect the way your blood responds. And of course, if you're doing surgery, they don't want you to bleed to death. And so you might want to do some research on what herbs are condiments that affect blood thinning. I know also omega-3 essential fatty acids is one that they want you to stop because it has blood thinning capabilities. So here's my question. If they know that omega-3 and garlic have blood thinning, why would they want you on something that is a horrible medicine that affects your body in many ways? Why not just put you on garlic and omega-3? But anyways, I digress. It reduces high blood pressure and reduces hardening of the arteries. So the medications that you're on are targeted medications, and they often aren't broad spectrum like garlic is. So you also have to take a high blood pressure pill. You have to take a pill that affects your hardening of your arteries. So to me, garlic is like a one-shot deal. Regular consumption of this reduces risk of cardiovascular disease. And to me, it just makes sense. It's a wonderful thing. And a lot of you are growing it in your own backyard. So let's talk about onions. You'd think I was cutting one. Being sulfurous in nature, fresh, not cooked, you know that the flavor of onions when they're caramelized are totally different than if you munch on a raw onion. And I've seen people do this, munch on a raw onion. It's like, oh, no, thank you. I also have a wonderful fermenting pickling recipe for red sliced onions. It's easy to do and they're delicious. You slice them in like 1/4 to 1/8 inch slices. And you make a brine with 2 cups of water, 1 cup of apple cider vinegar, and a teaspoon of salt. And you mix that up until the salt melts. And then you fill a quart jar or pint jar, whatever, with a sliced onion, red onions. Sometimes a red onion this size will fill the quart jar. And you tamp down the onion. You put a tablespoon of honey on that. You can add a few peppercorns. We're going to talk about peppercorns in just a bit. And maybe some dill. But these are sweet condiments, okay? So you will serve them as a side dish. It only takes 3 days in the refrigerator. So you've got the onions and the honey, and you pour your brine over it and tamp it down. Get the air bubbles out of it by, tamping the jar down on the surface of your counter, and you'll see some of the bubbles come up. Or you can take a knife and go around it, tamp it down, and then fill the jar so that all the onions are covered with the brine. Put a plastic cap on the quart jar and put it in your refrigerator. And usually 3 days, you want to taste it, and that's when they're good. And they're good for months in your refrigerator. So taking a little bit of that, now remember the onion is still raw, so you're going to get all the benefits of it, and it can help clear congestion in the respiratory system. So if you're dealing with some upper respiratory concerns, this might be a good remedy to take. Maybe you only need like a tablespoon a day. You don't need to do the dill. You don't need to do the peppercorns. You can make it as sweet as you want. You can add other spices to it if you want to put like mustard seeds, which we will talk about in a few minutes. So it would be like a good cough syrup. The onions are raw. You're still going to get the benefit from them. Another way you can do it is to slice the onion, sprinkle brown sugar on it, and that brings out the juices of the onion. And this too is beneficial for coughs or colds. So that's a real simple way to do it. garlic and onion for earaches, garlic oil. I have a video where I showed how to make garlic oil that I'll link in the description below. It has garlic and mullein and olive oil, and it's specific for earache or helping with the ear. Some people will take a slice of raw garlic, coat it with olive oil, and stick it like just right in front of the opening of the ear. I like to do the slice of garlic behind the ear, secure it with a Band-Aid. And when you go to bed at night, it actually will draw out the toxins. Now you're putting the garlic slice on the bone behind the ear. I had a client who was troubled with horrible dizzy spells, and she had tried 3 different antibiotics that the doctor had given her. And finally, I told her, finally she saw me, and I told her about the garlic. And the next day, she couldn't believe that she didn't have the vertigo. And she kept the garlic slice on her thing for a week. And I said, no, no, you want to take it off the next day and put fresh, if you're still dealing with it, put fresh on. But she was so happy to not be dizzy that she didn't want to jinx it. So she didn't remove that garlic slice for a week. There is a video, like I said, on making garlic oil. It's really rather simple. It's a great thing to have in your medicine chest. Horseradish. A couple of years ago, I bought a horseradish plant, and the first year it didn't, it was like very immature. It didn't do much. The second year, it sent out these shoots, and that's basically what you're supposed to chop off and use are these side shoots. And sometimes they can be a good size. Mine are, only about a 1/2 inch in diameter. You scrub it up, clean off the dirt. You don't have to peel it, and you grate it. And that's, you use that grated horseradish. Now, years ago, we bought a Walker juicer, and it had what they called a macerating, grinding up feature. And so we got this horseradish and we passed it through, and it came out this beautiful ground up juicy horseradish. And so my husband's troubled with sinuses, always has been. So he decided he'd take a scoop of it. We didn't know, what the response would be. He no sooner got that scoop of horseradish in his mouth and his face turned beet red, and I thought steam was going to come out of his ears. I didn't know what to think. But boy, did his sinuses clear up. So it is a pungent herb. Yeah, to me, this is more pungent than even garlic. But so it can also, this element that's in horseradish can also be found in mustard seeds. So that's when you get a spicy mustard, of course, you've got to macerate the mustard seed before this can work. So I want to make sure I've read, yeah. So it's a great respiratory remedy, helps open up. Now this is more upper respiratory. The other herbs we've talked about have been more about lungs and bronchioles. The horseradish works in the sinus area and the upper respiratory. And if you combine it with cayenne, which I can't even fathom, warming expectorant for expelling mucus from the lungs. So it does also work on the lungs, but if you put it in your mouth, it works instantly with the sinuses, whereas capsicum doesn't necessarily work with the sinuses as much as it works with the blood and circulation if you put it in your mouth. So it's helpful for coughs and bronchitis. It's been a long time remedy. People have known about this for centuries, and it's been a great digestive stimulant. So it used to be served with like prime rib. If you got a nice juicy prime rib at a nice restaurant, you always had a side of the horseradish because it helped in the digesting of the proteins in the meat. So it also helps to expel gas. It stimulates digestion and appetite. It helps expel intestinal worms. So the worms don't like it either. Japanese horseradish called wasabi and pickled ginger are eaten with sushi, and they are there to help prevent worms because we know that raw meat have or raw fish have a tendency to have parasites, and this will kill the parasites. So it also is beneficial for urinary tract infection, urinary stones, edema. Structurally, it helps with gout and rheumatism, even sciatic pain, and it's been used topically for joint inflammation and muscle aches. So again, now we've talked about capsicum, ginger, and horseradish that can be used topically for muscle aches and pains. Cinnamon, another one of my favorites. I use quite often. I love cinnamon. The volatile oils in it, the terpenes and the other aldehydes help with the remedies that it works with. So the herb has condensed tannins in it, and cinnamon is pungent, astringent, and a source of mucilage. So cinnamon and blood sugar, there are remedies that I take called cinnamon balance that helps me balance blood sugar so that my blood sugar doesn't go low and it doesn't go high. It helps to keep it. And this really protects the pancreas because if you're constantly flipping from high to low, you're going in that depending on the foods that you're eating is very hard on the pancreas. And pancreatitis is one of the accelerating conditions that and pancreatic cancer has been increasing over the years. So it is great for either high blood sugar or hypoglycemia. Common or cinnamon increases the pancreas beta cell capability of using insulin, so it makes that insulin more efficient. It helps to get into the cells better by reducing blood glucose levels for diabetics. Daily use of cinnamon was shown in recent studies to triple the efficiency of insulin. So and I know there are a lot of studies out there and people will add a little cinnamon to their oatmeal, but if you want to be effective about this, you might want to look into the supplement that I take called Cinnamon Balance. Its antioxidant effects were shown to heavily reduce free radicals, which play a role in diabetics who normally have elevated levels of these free radicals. And they are heat-sinking torpedoes that go through our body, causing inflammation. So in acute infections, bronchitis, flu, sinus congestion, you can take a little bit of grapeseed oil, tap a little bit of cinnamon oil, rub it, breathe it in, rub it on your chest. And if you don't like the smell of camphor, this is really a beneficial oil that it kills the bacteria E. coli. It helps, it's an antibacterial. and it has been beneficial in treating yeast infections. So it's a wonderful warming oil. And plus, who doesn't like the smell of cinnamon, you know? So it's helpful for flatulence, nausea, diarrhea, abdominal cramps. It is used to relieve dyspepsia and intestinal flatulence, which is, you know, you get that bloating and pain feeling. Employed against peptic ulcers. Now, wouldn't Jean rather be taking a spoonful of cinnamon? By the way, have you ever taken a spoonful of? It dries your mouth out instantly. It's really, you can't do it. You have to mix it with honey or some other delivery thing, because it's like the driest, your mouth becomes like a desert. So it's useful in heavy menstrual flows and postpartum bleeding. Black pepper. Now, you know, everybody has black pepper, but the benefits are the peppercorns and not pre-ground pepper. So besides being a staple in most kitchens, fresh ground black pepper has many health benefits. So putting it in a grinder is the way that you can benefit the most. It contains a potent antioxidant called piperine, which has anti-inflammatory properties. Studies show that black pepper may reduce your risk of Alzheimer's, cancer, and blood sugar problems. So make sure that you're grinding the pepper, and know now that it has many health benefits. So it's often added to turmeric or curcumin to assist with the absorption. And in fact, they have cautioned you not to take turmeric unless it has the piperine element. So black pepper stimulates digestion and eases gas and bloating. It's a catalyst in Ayurvedic medicine, like capsicum in the West. In Russia, vodka infused with black pepper or garlic is a common folk remedy for colds. When we were visiting in Russia, the average person made their own vodka, and they prided themselves on its potency. That's a story for another time. Mustard seeds aren't just a condiment. They're like horseradish. Mustard is sulfurous in nature. It helps clear the sinuses and expel mucus from the lungs. It also stimulates digestion and helps digest fats and proteins. So when you add like mustard seed to like the onion ferment, when you pickle with it, you're actually allowing those benefits to come forth in the brine solution and into the, like the onion or pickles or whatever you're making that brine ferment. So mustard seeds are also stimulating to the mind, helping to relieve gloomy, depressed feelings. So if you're feeling sad or depressed, you know, just munch on a few mustard seeds, if you can tolerate that. So to take, mix with food as a condiment, or swallow whole seeds. Well, you know, you might be able to swallow that if you don't have intestinal situations where you can't do seeds. Mustard plaster. Now, there's something from old time remedies. Look at this, 1892. So taking a mustard plaster, mix 1/4 cup ground mustard seeds with 1 cup of flour, add water to make a paste. Now, you might want to take those mustard seeds and put them in a, like a coffee grinder type of thing, a seed grinder of sorts, or if you're strong and you want to do it in a mortar and pestle, you can do it that way too, but you've got to crack them and break them up to get the inside volatile oils working. Now, there's several ways that you can apply this. You can coat the skin with olive oil and spread the paste over the oil. And then put a warm cloth. Some people use a damp cloth. Some people put a warm cloth and a heating water bottle, I wouldn't do a heating pad. I've seen many a burn on the skin from people leaving heating pads. You don't want to do that. A hot water bottle will eventually cool off. So you can put the paste inside of a thin cloth and place it over the skin and cover with a warm, wet towel. So like you could take gauze and spread it with mustard plaster and place that on the chest. And then cover with a dry towel or a plastic. So what you want to do is you want to keep that heat, driving the heat into the lungs. Check frequently to make sure it's not irritating, because some people have a very delicate skin and it could irritate it. So you can also buy ready-made mustard plasters in stores. Watercress. Now, this is a lovely herb. It's a member of the mustard family. It's quite spicy. It contains sulfur compounds. It helps fight infection. It improves liver detoxification. It breaks up mucus in the respiratory system. It's good for colds, and it's high in vitamin C. So another beneficial herb that you can find often near streams. So here's the recipe for fire cider. You can take a screenshot of this, but there's plenty of recipes on the internet, and I will put a link in the description below for it. It's a wonderful thing to have on hand. And actually, people say at first it is a taste that they're not used to, but then they learn to crave it, especially when they're feeling down or low or just not themselves, or you had a very stressful day the day before and you wake up and you just taking a spoonful of this. You can add honey in some water and put the fire cider in it and drink it that way. It is a very beneficial drink, and it has the horseradish, the white onion, the ginger, the garlic. A lot of people leave out the jalapenos. They use a lemon zest and juice. A lot of people leave out the rosemary. They use the cayenne. So almost all of the things that we talked about in today's class are in this particular drink. And you're gonna have wonderful benefits, not just in helping to get the energy flowing, but circulation, helping the respiratory system. It can ward off bacteria, intestinal worms, all kinds of things. So now it does take 4 weeks. So now is a good time to start it. The autumn is notorious for colds and flu, and you could send your children off to school with a little bit of fire cider drink before they leave the house, and they could be benefiting their health through that. So I hope that you've enjoyed today's class on Spice Up Your Life, your health. And if you have any questions, please email me at drmary@bornforhealth.com. If you've liked this video, I hope you give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Subscribe. Remember, I have a plethora of videos that are much shorter than this that you can take in 15, 20-minute increments and learn about one herb each time. Share this wonderful class with other people so that they can know that the herbs and food that we eat can be our medicine. So I want to thank you for joining me today. Go out and make this the best day ever.